This is Irontrader, and this is Midday Trading. So I'm going to take a look at some stocks here. We'll take a look here at Oracle. Their earnings are coming out on the 9th. Synopsys, their earnings are coming out on the 9th. We'll take a look here at NVDA, at Meta, and at Tesla. Okay, this video is for information purposes only, not a recommendation to buy or sell stock market ETF. Please like, subscribe. Thanks for watching. All right, here we have Oracle, daily and your weekly chart. Now, I look at the weekly chart here. You can see here we just have a nice low, higher, low situation, and we rail it up to a really nice a 60 level, which is now she's coming at off a little bit. Now, you can see here how we had this sideways consolidation, but when you put this high to see that topping tail, always be a little bit careful of that, and then it couldn't get, unless you can break back above it, which just couldn't, and then she wants to come right on down. Now, a couple things you really want to watch here on this chart. Is right here. Is this 8 day. See how it crossed that 21 day, the 50 day, and now we're coming on the way down. And look at this 21 day, how it's trying to cross over that 50 day. So you got to be a little bit careful here, okay? So what we're looking here for on the upside is you're watching that 8 day at 229.54. Then we come over to today's high, 232.77. And then we're going to run into that 238.26 level and this 238.44 level, which is your 21 day and your 50 SMA. Now, if you can get above it, then we'll come to the top of that candle, 241.95. Then we're going to come to this level right here, which is going to be at that 250.63. Then we'll come up to the top of that candle, 257.67. And then we have that 260.87. So we're going to see how all the earnings shake out here. Now, we left a gap, okay? So we're going to look at the downside here is at that 225.89. There's your gap. And then we want to look at that fill at that 223.57. So you gap, your fill, and then we have the retest of 218.79 level. Now, there's also another gap right here. If you look at the bottom of this candle, okay, you're looking at 216.31, and then we looked at the top of there, 214.65. There's another gap, another fill situation. Same way with down here, okay? So you want to watch 188.88, there's your gap, and then 179.55. Now, the reason I point these out is a lot of times, if you're going to lose that price channel at that 218, a lot of times they'll come right in like right to the 100-day. These are all your key levels. That's why I always put on your key, which is all your simple moving averages. But a lot of times what it does, it'll come right down here to the bottom of that candle. If it holds it, then that's good. If not, it starts getting to the gap, then they'll fill that gap, okay? And then always here, same thing here, situation. You'll fill that gap 200-day, and then maybe even fill that gap. So always just watch those. That's going to be very, very key. Now, you can see how we got to a way to it, negative divergence that's going on. We have a high, we have a higher high, we have a lower high, negative divergence. So it's a matter of time before that comes down. It always does, okay? But now you're sitting at 42, not too bad, okay? Not overbought or oversold. The green is below your red, but that could curl up nicely. So bottom line, what you're really watching is just watch that key level there is today's low at that 225 level, and that fill level at that 219 level, and then 218.79. You really have to hold that. If you don't, you go to the gap and fills, but you're really be looking for that 100-day here and possibly that 200 SMA. Upside, you got to get back above that 8-day, and then we have that 21-day and that 50-day. That's going to be very, very key. Now, when we look on a weekly chart, okay, so we had this really nice good pop up here, but now you can see how that 8-day is kind of rolling over. So if it keeps right on rolling, we always look to the left at 216 level. Then we can come down here to that 202, and we come all the way down to that 182 level. But right now we got to an overbought condition. We have this negative divergence going on there, high, higher high, high, lower high, and now we got this big curl over. So we got to see what the earnings are going to be out. So let's just see how this shakes out here on the 9th when the earnings come out. All right, let's look at the Synopsys. Okay, their earnings are also coming out here on the 9th. Okay, so we got to be, let's just take a look at the old chart. Now, this is actually a pretty nice, good round chart. You can see how nice and strong it was, and then it's just coming off. There's no divergence in it. It's just coming off nicely, okay? So what we're really watching is that we're going to be watching this 8-day on the upside. You need to reclaim that 599 level, and we need to reclaim that 608.31. You can see here today where it popped right on up. Now, the whole market popped up because of the jobs number. They only created 22,000. They're expecting to create, 75,000. But let's see what the revisions are. So now everybody's saying, oh, guaranteed that the Fed is going to, cut rates. But if they do cut rates, I think it's going to just be a quarter point to see where everything kind of like stands. And then we can see how it's going to go here to the end of the year. We'll have to just kind of play that out. Now, remember, next week you got the CPI report, the PPI report. So they're going to be everybody. The Fed is going to be looking at all those inflation numbers. That's all going to take in consideration on what is going to be happening. Okay, so what we really want to do is got to get beta back above this 8-day, the 599, and it's got to get above that 21-day. If it does, we can go to today's high you're looking at that 615 level. Then we come right at the top of that candle, looking at 626. And then we have the retest at 632, and then the big boy at 651 level up here, okay? Now, on the downside here, we have this nice 50-day that's holding, okay, so 591. And then we look here to this 584 level. That's going to be key. If not, all we do is we just follow this candles all the way down. We got 579 level. We'll come down here. You got 555. Then we have this gap. So you look at the bottom of that candle, 4508. There's your gap, and then the top of that candle, 526. Your gap, your fill. Then we can come down here. You have your 100, but realistically, then you have your 200 SMA. So let's just see how this all going to shake out here. I wouldn't take this here into earnings, but let's just see how it plays out. Now, you look at the weekly chart. You can see here how we had this double top situation. Okay, so always want to put these charts side by side and give yourself a little bit bigger view. And like on a Fridays, take a daily, a weekly, and a monthly, and see how it all shakes out. So we had this double top situation, came right down, and you can see here how you were just have a descending kind of situation. Then it reversed, got right back, and then we rallied all the way up and made a nice higher high, which was good. But now we're right here below this 8. So you got to get back above that 606 level to take this higher. If not, we just follow the candles all the way down until we hit that 100-day here, and then we have that 512 on that 50 SMA here. So, but then, that's a long ways away, but I always like to point it out. We never got to an overbought condition on this. And now she's just kind of rolling over. But let's just see how the earnings shake out. That's going to be everything. A lot of times, like Lululemon came out there today, and boy, they stunk it up. The stock is down like 30 points. So you got to be real leery in this whole time frame situation. All right, let's take a look here now at NVIDIA. Here we have NVIDIA. This is one of my favorite trades. Now, all the tech boys were over at the meeting with the T-Man, and the table must have been that table. I was watching on CNBC. That table had to be 50 feet long. You know, I mean, they're all sitting there, and everybody's got their say. But it was all the big boys. You know, I mean, it was the guy, you know, the Meta guy, the Amazon guy. You know, everybody was there except for Elon Musk. I don't know. He's still all pissed off about something. But anyway, he wasn't there. But the rest of everybody else was there, and so we got to see how that meeting. But talk about, you know, actually building stuff here in the United States, which makes a hell of a lot of sense to me, because then you got a hell of a lot better control than dealing with a foreign country. It doesn't make no sense. You sell to a foreign country, you build it right here, okay? Especially with this AI, you know, you can build stuff in a lot simpler today than what you could do years ago. Okay, let's take a look at NVIDIA. Now you can see here that 184.48, even with the earnings kind of a situation came out, you popped up to that 184.47 level. That was your double top situation. See that? See that double top? Okay, got to be always care. You have to close above that 184 to take it to the 200-day. But you can't, if you can't do it, then you're going to come down, which is exactly what we have going. Now, we got to get back above that price channel, 167.22. Now, you can see here we made this lower low today. So let's just see how this shakes out. So bottom line, what you're watching here is right here on a closing basis is going to be that 167.22. If not, we're going to go to today's low, 164.07. Okay, then we can just follow these candles down. What you got there is you got 162 level. We'll come to the top there. You got 160.98. Then we come up there, 158.71 level. Then we have this gap right here, okay, 149.26. Then we have your fill, 147.96. So gap and fill situation. But we have your 100-day at 150 and a 200-day at 139 level, okay? Now, there's a lot of gaps all the way down kind of a situation, but let's just see how this takes right out. I don't think it's going to be any kind of a collapse. You know, you just got a little bit of pullback, which I am looking for as an opportunity. It would be really nice, and not only the gap and the fill, but it came down to that 200-day. That would be really awesome. You know what I'm saying? That would be, but let's just see how this all shakes out. Now, when we look at, you already had that overbought condition, but always look at that double top situation. So when you see this overbought, and then you can see here how we had this negative divergence going on here, and now we're sitting down at 35. Now, this is not, we're nowhere near oversold. This could come way down here. Just remember that. So if you look to the past, this got down to an oversold, but we're not there yet. See, that got down to an oversold, but we're not nowhere near that. So, you know, you got to be a little bit careful on here on taking a long position. Now, this is one of my favorite trading stocks also, but what I'm looking for is opportunity in this situation. Now, your green is below your red, shows momentum to the downside, which obviously we had. And you can see how strong that 50-day was. See, when it came on down, that's that 50-day, look at that, boom, 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 just could not get back up. But anyway, the key is what we're looking for is going to be right there, that 167.22. Then we can go to today's high, 169.03. But realistically, that 172 very, very critical. And that 8-day 174.63, which crossed over that 21-day, which is very bearish. And then we have that 177.88 level, which is your 21-day. Then obviously your big retest at 184.48. Now, I think eventually NVIDIA is going to go to 200. I think they're going to go to 250. I just don't think they're going to do that today. Okay. But you look at this chart, very, very nice, very, very bullish kind of a situation. But we have this negative divergence going on here. See how we have this high, we have a high, we have a higher high, and we got nothing here. Okay, this is just like waterfall situation. So always be careful, put the chart side by side. So what I'm looking for here is this like maybe a retest of this level here, that 152 level. You have that 150 level, and we have that 138 level. But always look to the left there. You got that 140, which is sitting right above it. Okay. But again, everything you need to know is sitting right here as far as support. But again, we take one level at a time. If it comes down to the 21-day and holds it, well, then it'll be a buying opportunity to take it back up. If it doesn't, then we hit the 50-day. If it doesn't, we can all come all the way down to that 100-day. Now, you can see how this is rolling over. The MACD is rolling over. It's not too good. So to me, I would just be patient with this. You can actually short this with the S. Kind of a situation there too, but I'm not really into shorting this. I'm just, just kind of like to take it along. But for me, I'm just waiting for opportunity. All right, let's take a look here now at Meta. Here we have Meta. Now, yesterday at that big meeting there, that big tech meeting, Meta guy was sitting right next to the old key man. He knows business, that guy. That's why I'm a big fan of the old Meta stock, okay? Used to be Facebook, but we'll call it Meta, whatever. Okay, so now we got this ping pong action. Here you got the 8-day, 745.35 on the bottom, and we have that 21-day on the top. You can see we're just going back and forth, can't do nothing. Okay, we lose that 8-day, you're going to come down to the 50-day here at that 738, and then we have this retest at 721 level. Now, we had this gap fill, look at right there, okay, 708. 50, there's your gap fill, and then we look to the bottom of that candle. We're looking at 691, and then we come down here to your 100-day, and we even have your 50-day. It'd be nice if it sold all the way down. 200-day all the way down there. That would be awesome. Now, upside, 21-day is everything. You got to get back above it. If we can, we'll hit the top of this candle right there. You're looking at 767. We come up there. We're looking at 775. There's your gap, and then look to the bottom of that candle, 780. Okay, gap. And then we have a fill. Then we look to the left of the chart here, 784. And then we have your retest there at 796. Crack that, you can go 8, 850, run it all the way up to 1,000. Very, very easy. So this is the one where I'm also looking for opportunity. Now, I have a lot of, if you look at this, you have a lot of gaps, a lot of fills all the way on down here. But again, you'd have to have a really big sell-off for something like that to happen. Okay, so, but then again, in this time period, you never know. So always keep some cash on the side. You can look for opportunity, okay? Now, we have negative divergence going on here. We have a high, and then we have a higher high, lower high, negative divergence going on. The green is below your red. So this isn't really nothing here I want to get involved with unless we close back above that 21-day. We close back above it, then I would take a long and shoot for that 796 level. Now, you look at this weekly chart here. Well, the 8-day is everything. It still hasn't rolled over. Okay, so right now we're holding that at 745, 74. We're holding that. So that's very, very good. So the next shot we're going to do is we can aim for that 796 here. But for me, I got to wait for on the 21-day. Once I get above that and close above it, not just pop and drop like you had yesterday and today, we close above it, then I would take a shot at it to take it up higher. Downside here, we just want to watch that 21-day, that 50 SMA here, the 100-day, and then retest all the way down to 479 here. By Friday, this is, long as it holds that 8-day, this is still very, very good shape. But again, negative divergence on your RSI, and your green is starting to roll over. So just be a little bit patient with this. Don't just jump in to jump in. All right, let's take a look here now at Tesla. Here we have Tesla. Now, I'm sure everybody heard about Tesla's big a deal that they offered him. Okay, so they offered him, look how ridiculous this is. Over the next 10 years, a pay package of $1 trillion. Okay, who the hell gets paid $1 trillion? What the hell are you doing $1 trillion? Okay, I mean, okay, so they offered him. However, if you read into it, I think it's completely almost impossible to do that. But the reason that they did that, so just so everybody understands, the reason they did that because they want Elon Musk to focus back on Tesla. Okay, he was in that Doge, you know what I'm saying, and that kind of went away, and then he's into this, and then he's into that. But in this, they want to have, I mean, he's got so many, he's got to sell 20 million cars Tesla cars, and Tesla sales are absolutely declining. And wait till September here now. All these EVs are going to be declining because that subsidy of $7,500 is gone. So he's got in China, Europe, he was down 45%. China, he's down 40%. You know, you got to sell not only those cars, but then you got to have this AI. You got to have self-driving. There's so many stipulations in order for him to get paid. But the reason they do that is for have Elon focus on Tesla. And I think if he actually got rid of all that nonsense that he's doing, and you focused right on Tesla and that self-driving and this and that, I think that he could actually get that $1 trillion if he focused. But he's not going to focus. He's always going to venture off. But I say that's, again, is the reason. But we don't really give a rat's ass about that because we're not getting paid $1 trillion. We get paid for trading. Okay, so here's what we got. Now, you can see where it rallied. Okay, we're looking right here for that price down, 355. And get where to go. It got 355.87. And now look at old Sticky here. Okay, look at old Sticky. So let's look at the upside. You got to get and close above that 355.39. It was a good trade, but now I'm out. Okay. Then right here, 357.54, that's next level. Then we can come up here to your 367.71. Okay, those are your upside targets. Downside, now you left this gap. So you want to look at today's low, 344.68, that 8-day right there, 341, and then your gap fill at 338.89 level. Then we have your 21-day, we have your 200-day, and then we have your 50 SMA here. 324, and then we have your 100-day, and then we come all the way down here to your 309. But again, one level at a time. But your price is above all your simple moving averages, which is always very, very good. Okay, so now we were downtrending, but now we got this uptrending situation. Okay, so we have a low, higher low, higher low, higher low situation. So you can come all the way down to that 50-day, and you still got a higher low situation. Still got a very, very bullish chart. Okay, so a lot of people jump in this. But again, that's the reason why they gave this ridiculous thing over to Tesla. Now, the stock is up $8. I was in and I was out of this thing. As soon as I read that news, I said, I'm going to jump in because I know the reason. They want him to focus on this. And then you get all these retail traders saying, oh, man, he's going to do this, he's going to do that. Well, this is over a 10-year period. Okay, can he maintain the focus over a 10-year period without getting into something else or whatever? Another thing you always have to look at is you better pray to God that something doesn't happen to Elon, because this stock will be right there where it really belongs at about $20. Okay, so that's what you also have to look at. Okay, so remember, this is a FOMO stock. It's nothing but hype. Okay, and you got to watch these sales here now when that subsidy at $7,500 is taken off. And all he's doing is raising prices. That Cybertruck, which you couldn't sell for $100,000, now it's $115,000. So, you know what I'm saying? But again, it's a FOMO stock. For me, it's a great trading stock. I don't care if Tesla falls off the face of the earth tomorrow. Makes no difference to me. Then I'll short this with TSLS. That's what a trader does. No opinion, no feelings, just make money, trade them charts. That's the key, okay? So bottom line is what you're watching is right there, that 355. You got to close over in order for us to hit that next level at 357 and then that next level at 367. Okay, if you can't do it, you're going to go sideways here to down action. But right now, we got an uptrending chart situation. Okay, so just trade this. That's the key. Just trade this. Now, you're only sitting here on your RSI at 58. That's got plenty of room to run. You got a sideways action going here because obviously the chart is going sideways. But again, great trader until we start losing all these downtrend situations. Then we could retest that 214. Now, on a weekly chart, you can see here we had all these double bottom situation, a nice good rally up, and you can see how she's venturing all on up here, okay? Very, very nicely. And we're above all these simple moving averages. So you want to watch that 328 level, you want to watch that 50-day at 321, and we want to watch 317, okay? We lose that, then you start coming down 363, you come down to 355, then we can do also get to have your big retest. Right now, we just have sideways action. We got to an over bought condition. And then now we're just coming right on down. Same way with here, we just have sideways action. But again, this is a trader. Okay, we start losing all this. I'll jump right into TSLS just like I did here, and I'll clean it up. Okay, we crack above and close above that 355. I jump right back into Tesla, and I ride that bad boy all the way on up. All right, that's what I got for you. I'll be back here, pick close. We'll look at Bitcoin, take a look at that Ethereum, ETH. On the old ETF, 2 times leverage. Look at gold, silver, crude oil, natural gas, and we'll look at the indexes, which are pretty red. Trade what's in front of you, not what you want.